Sifter for the ear.
News, interviews, reviews, cinema, TV, streaming. Action!
Hi y'all, this is Jerry Williams, aka TV Jerry. This week's Unique Angle features two shows about film and books. Novel Film is a new show with two writers, Bridie Baker and her partner in Copenhagen, Monia Soderstrand, and they look at a movie and the book that inspired it. Before that, we're going to visit Lights, Camera, Author, a long-running podcast that features the authors of books about movies. Jim Junot will tell stories about working with famous people and their writing. Both of these shows had their start on WRAR-FM, Richmond Independent Radio Station, and we'll have a special visit from the station's president, Melissa Vaughn, talking about their new building. Before all of that is this review.
Sifter Review of the Week.
You're cordially invited on Amazon Prime Video. Will Ferrell's character has a weirdly fun relationship with his daughter, Geraldine Viswanathan, who announces she's getting married. Meanwhile, Reese Witherspoon plays the sister to Meredith Hagner, who's also facing nuptials, and her uptight relatives. The conflict arises when both families book the same limited island venue for the same weekend. Ferrell does his usual over-the-top shtick, while Witherspoon continues her sly comic style. Luckily, there are supporting roles that add amusing characters, and writer-director Nicholas Stoller has included regular comic bits that sometimes work to generate laughs. While this film isn't especially original in the people or the plot, except maybe for the hilarious alligator scene, there's enough energy and humor to make a mildly enjoyable fling. I gave You Cordially Invited 3 out of 5 stars. Jim Junot, welcome to Sifter for the Ear.
Hello.
How did you get to Richmond?
By car. I came down I-90. No, I was working at the University of Louisville as an assistant sports information director, and I was getting really into designing web pages and the internet. What happened is that I had designed a web page on my favorite author named Patricia Cornwell.
Virginian?
At that point in time, a Richmonder. So what happened is that I designed a web page on her. So anyway, long story short, she was on tour, and she had so many of her fans talk to her about this website that this guy named Jim is doing that she decided to seek me out. And before I knew it, 2 years later, I was working for her. She paid for my relocation to Richmond, asked me how much I was making. I told her at the University of Louisville, and she doubled it.
Wow.
So I said, okay, I'll come on out. And I worked for her for 2 years, and that's how I landed in Richmond.
And then you eventually got involved with the podcast that you started that was on WRAR called Lights, Camera, Author. What is the background behind that, and why did you decide to do that?
It's been 7 years ago now, and I hadn't realized it had been that long until recently. Yeah, back in 2018, I was looking to see what direction the web was going in. At this point, I'm working here in Richmond at Virginia Union University as their sports information director. I thought podcasts and video podcasts were going to be the way of the future. So I started buying the equipment, and I'm not a rich person. I don't get paid for this podcast.
None of us do, believe me.
So I built this home studio using things I found at Goodwill or on eBay. This kind of microphone that I'm using now is the same kind I use for my podcast. And this is probably the most expensive item. I had a GoFundMe campaign, which raised about $100, and I was able to buy one of these.
Big time, yeah.
Yeah. The podcast is about authors who write about Hollywood, not necessarily books that are made into movies or anything, even though that is a part of it. Last night, I talked to an author named Diane Kiesel, and she's written a new book called When Charlie Met Joan, and this is about the trial of Charlie Chaplin and Joan Barry, where Chaplin was accused of fathering a child out of wedlock. Even though the blood test proved that he wasn't the father, they ruled him against him. The latest show I put up dealt with Whitney Houston's bodyguard, who has just now written a book called Protecting Whitney. I've had Olivia Newton-John on the show. She talked about her duet with her daughter. Peter Marshall, the host of the old Hollywood Squares, was on the show. Billy D. Williams was on the show.
What did he talk about?
He had written a book. It was a memoir. For those of you who are familiar with TV's Batman, I had Burt Ward on the show.
Who played Robin, right?
Who played Robin, yes.
Right.
And we talked about his book. I believe it was called My Life in Tights. And
Great title.
Yes, but a lot of people don't realize now that he is the head of a very successful dog food company.
Huh.
He runs a dog food company called Gentle Giants, which manufactures food specifically for large breed dogs.
Give me another good example of that with one of these people that was kind of like, oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, well, let's see.
Besides
Well,
the dog food, of course.
a lot of times the interviewees will catch me off guard. One that comes to mind is George Funky Brown. He was the drummer and the songwriter for Kool and the Gang.
Okay.
He wrote the song Celebration, and I was asking him, I said, "How are you doing tonight?" And he goes, "Well, my cancer has returned."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which all of a sudden I'm like, well, where do I go with this?
Yeah, really.
Amazingly, I mean, and unfortunately, he didn't beat it. Even though he says, "I'm going to beat this." It's the second time I've had it. I'm not feeling too great right now, but I wanted to do the interview, and it was like 6 weeks before he passed away. Sad,
Wow.
sad. And Olivia Newton-John, we were talking. It was before she passed away.
I hope so.
Yes, I know.
Unless you're a medium or something.
Well, the thing about it is that she was fighting the cancer at that time, but she had also released a song, a duet with her daughter. And we were talking about that, and I actually mentioned, I said, the song reminded me a lot of her early stuff. And she was like, yeah, it's interesting you say that because the same producer who did my early stuff did this song.
Uh-huh.
We just go off on these tangents sometimes. Try to
Sure.
stick to what's in the book, but if something really is like last night talking with Diane Kiesel, a lot of people don't realize. Well, if you've seen the movie Chaplin,
I believe Robert Downey Jr. got an Oscar for that.
yeah, Robert Downey got an Oscar for it, and I asked her, I said, how accurate was the movie with that? And she said, well, the movie was accurate to a point, but a lot of people don't realize that there were 4 trials,
Wow.
and he was acquitted of 3 of them. The last one was a paternity trial, which Joan Barry did not want to go through. And she was forced to go through it almost because she had a daughter. And the daughter is still alive, by the way. She's living under an assumed name. We didn't mention the current name she's under or where she is. But Diane had found her and talked to her. She must be in her 80s by now. And she cooperated with the book. So there's a lot of things in the book, When Charlie Met Joan, that people may not realize.
Now, I know there was a while when we talked on the phone the first time, you were taking a break from doing this. You're back in it?
I had taken a break through the month of December because I was feeling burned out. But then a reporter contacted me, John O'Connor.
From Times Dispatch, right? I saw that article.
Yeah, he called me. He said, "Oh, I'd like to do an article on your podcast." But what happened is that this article got a lot of people talking about it again. I had publishers contacting me.
Me contacting you?
You contacted me. And I'm like, I'm not going to turn my back on this. So now I've got interviews, like I said, with Whitney Houston's bodyguard, David Roberts. Next week, I am talking to Kevin Farley, who was Chris Farley's brother.
Uh-huh.
He has a new book out. Rick Astley, and Never Gonna Give You Up, he has a new book out. Eddie Muller from Turner Classic Movies, he's going to be on the show. He hosts Noir Alley on Turner Classic Movies.
So how many shows totally have you done at this point?
The Diane Kiesel show, which will be going up, is the 290th.
Wow.
For the 300th show, I'd like to get a special guest. And I would love to get Patricia Cornwell on the show.
That'd be great to have her back, yeah. Is she still writing, do you know?
She's still writing. She's still writing Scarpetta. Matter of fact, the Kay Scarpetta novels are being made into a TV series now on Amazon Prime.
Footnote.
Kay Scarpetta is the name of the Virginia chief medical examiner who's the focus of a series of crime novels by former Richmonder Patricia Cornwell.
Nicole Kidman is going to be Kay Scarpetta. Jamie Lee Curtis is going to be Scarpetta's sister Dorothy.
That's an impressive cast, yeah.
It is. I mean, it really is.
So do you think you might get back on WRAR?
And I just don't know. But like I said, there's always possibilities.
So the last question I always like to ask everybody is when you're not working on your podcast or working at VUU, what do you like to watch? What are you watching right now?
What I was watching last night, and I'm currently watching them, it's on at 4 a.m. in the morning on MeTV.
Good
so
heavens.
I know I don't get up and watch it. I record it.
Good.
Yeah. But I've really been watching Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Oh, wow.
Footnote.
Alfred Hitchcock Presents was a TV series hosted by the famous director that ran from 1962 to 1965. I remember the show, yeah. Good evening.
Good evening. It's like good
Always
evening.
said at the beginning, yeah.
I'm also been getting into Sherlock, which starred Benedict Cumberbatch.
Right.
And then somebody I'm hoping to get on the show. She's a British historian named Lucy Worsley. She's doing an investigative show now on British historical people. She talks very British like this, and she's makes it really interesting. She dresses up like the people in the
On the period.
the era of the period. Yeah, so it's yeah, really, and she's got several books out too, which I'm trying to get her on for.
All right. Well, Jim, this has been great to finally get a chance to talk to you. And I've heard your show on the air, and hopefully we'll be hearing it back on the air. But if not, we'll check out the podcast.
All right, thank you very much.
Jim Junot is the creator of Lights, Camera, Author, which has produced more than 300 shows featuring interviews with authors about their film books. Next in our book report is Novel Film, a show with two writers, Bridie Baker and her partner in Copenhagen, Monja Soderstrand, who look at a movie and the book that inspired it. I'm here today with Bridie Baker and Monja Soderstrand.
That's beautiful. Yeah, most people will say Soderstrand.
Yeah, Soderstrand. I've seen enough Scandinavian movies to know how to pronounce a little bit of that.
Very excited about that.
Actually, Monja is in Copenhagen as we speak. Let's start out with both of you just introducing yourselves and give us a little short history background of how you got to this point today.
So my name's Moina, and I was born and raised in Copenhagen and met Bridie when we were 12 at an international school and went to film school in Norway. And I have a degree in screenwriting, and I've done a little bit of work in TV and now mainly consulting on short films.
Actually, my second question was, how did you meet? And you've already answered that one. So, Bridie, tell us who you are and how you got to where you are in Richmond.
My name's Bridie Baker. Like Moina, I'm born and raised in Copenhagen. My dad's from England. My mom's from New Jersey. So there's really no good explanation. But I went to high school here in the States, and I went to VCU and got a degree in English and gender studies. And I went back to Denmark, and I did a year at a publishing house in a sort of like editorial finishing school almost. And ended up kind of working in what's called micro-publishing in Denmark. I shifted gears into doing freelance translation and freelance editing.
So now let's segue to Novel Film. What is that podcast about? And how did you decide to start one?
Well, I think it was less of a question of should we start one and more what should our podcast be about? Because
everybody's doing a podcast.
And exactly. We've been friends since we were 12 and we love to yap. And it was kind of a given.
I've also been involved in radio for a long time in various formats. And I felt like Moina and I really had a lot to offer when it comes to talking about the shape that stories take and why. I think that the example I like to use a lot is like, you'll have a fantasy novel that has 17 named characters, 3 continents, you have a map and a glossary, and you can do that with a book, but that would make for a really bad movie. And I think, wow, Moina and I could totally sit down and explain why that is, and it would be such a fun conversation.
The title kind of says it, but what is, in a nutshell, what is your elevator pitch?
Yes.
We read a book, we watch its adaptation, and then we don't discuss anything about it until we hit record. We try to talk about what are the writing structures, what are the writing differences you might take from taking a narrative from a book to a film? How do you take this narrative from one media to the next? And why would you make the decisions that you do? So
what are some of the subjects and books and movies you've covered so far?
We sort of tackle them from different angles, depending on the adaptations that we tackle. So far have an entire episode about the production of Shrek and how that informed the adaptation.
Give me one example, like just one, if it's that one or another one you've done.
We just did Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah.
Footnote.
Howl's Moving Castle is a 1986 young adult fantasy novel that was made into a film in 2004.
And we were discussing it, trying to talk about the different narrative structural conventions in different areas and countries and languages. And I don't know if devolved is the right word, but we ended up talking a lot about translation and how translation affects text and how even translation even affected the framing text we were using. And a lot about
Localization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Howl's Moving Castle is not a movie that made sense to me as a child. And
Right.
I was hoping reading the book would make it make sense. It did
That
not.
was kind of, yeah. And we kind of went back and forth on that, and how that might also be a result of narrative structures, and how we're used to books and films having a certain structure, and when they depart from that, what does that do to our experience? And I think our conclusion was, no, it is just a confusing book, but that is definitely something that can.
So, what has been your biggest challenge so far in putting the podcast together?
Time zones. I live in Copenhagen still, as much as Bridie is trying to get me to move to Richmond. We both have jobs and have to work around that as well.
Yeah, the logistical things, trying to time out time differences, trying to time out just differences in workload. Melissa Vaughn is our producer, and she is a person who takes on an absolutely monumental amount of work. She
She's
is
amazing.
an absolute
Yeah.
superstar.
Yeah.
And now we're raising $2 million.
Right, yes, exactly. Capital campaign.
So our latest episode is Persepolis.
Footnote.
Persepolis is an adult animated film about a young girl coming of age during the Iranian Revolution. It was originally an autobiographical graphic novel.
By Marjan Zatapi, which is a very interesting one because the author and the director of the film is the same person, which is part of the framing for that conversation, which is really interesting.
You mentioned conversation, so it is the two of you. You don't bring in anybody that's involved in the movie or the book.
No, not at this point in time.
So how many shows have you done so far, and what's next?
So far, we've recorded 6 episodes, I believe. We laid out the slate for all of 2025.
So that's 12 episodes because you do monthly.
Yeah, next 12 episodes, yes. And we do intend it to be kind of a bit of a book club. So the next episode's going to be on The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey Eugenides. It's a Sofia Coppola adaptation.
Yeah. So Sofia Coppola, if you want to come on our podcast, please do.
But we do plan to make that list public. We really do want to have people read along, and we're thinking about reaching out to Richmond Public Library and talking to some local bookstores and really creating kind of a network out of it.
That's a good idea.
Right, especially in this day and age, we really need people to start reading things.
Yeah. Something longer than 2 sentences on the internet, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
We intend to, in the future, to start sending out some information about the things we didn't get around to. That's the thing about when you're just having a chat, you end up not making it to everything you wrote down.
Yes.
Right.
But really, yeah, we just want people to know that this is something that they can sort of read along and watch along with. And we'd love for people to join in and let us know, like, what did you think? Did we miss something, you know?
Yeah.
So one question I always like to ask everybody, right now, what are you watching? Streaming or movies? What are you watching right now?
I just saw Heretic, which I'm blown away by. It's so good.
Footnote.
Heretic was released in November 2024, starring Hugh Grant as a villain.
I watched that and then coincidentally afterwards listened to the A24 podcast. One of their latest episodes is with the 2 leads from that film. And their conversation about growing up Mormon and playing these Mormon girls is so interesting. It is such a refreshing take on religion and horror because it's so much more empathetic with those characters than I think horror usually is.
And Hugh Grant is so wonderfly evil, too.
Oh my God, he's meant to be a villain.
Yes, he was.
He should always have been a villain, yes.
Bridie, what about you?
We're in this sort of, you know, where you catch up with everything and you're like, I don't know what to do with myself. We just finished watching The Penguin, my fiance and I.
Another heavy performance there.
Fantastic.
As you would never know that it was Colin Farrell's crazy.
No.
Footnote.
The Penguin is an origin story of the Batman character starring Colin Farrell.
We really enjoyed it. I'm a really big Batman fan. I'm really enjoying where this is taking us really into the detective comics of it all. Really enjoying that. I don't know, we've been trying to start Squid Game, but then Richmond lost water, and it just didn't really feel that entertaining.
You did say it felt like you were in your own Squid Game.
Honestly.
Yeah, it was. I'll tell you, I have to say, I skimmed through the whole thing because I just want to see the games. I don't care about all the drama because it's boring to me. And the games were terrible this time. They weren't anywhere near as
Yeah.
spectacular and scary as they were last time. It's like, this isn't worth it. So,
darn.
it was kind of disappointing. Well, it's so great to finally get a chance to talk to both of you and be fellow broadcasters on WRIR. And I want to thank you both for being on the show.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you for having us. This was so
amazing.
great.
Yeah, this was great.
That was Bridie Baker and Moya Soderstrand talking about their new show, Novel Film, where they discuss a movie and the book that inspired it. I'll have links to their webpage and the WRIR link on the webpage for this show at TV Jerry. Speaking of WRIR, Richmond's independent radio station has been broadcasting since the early 90s at 97.3 FM, including this show when it started. They're embarking on a capital campaign to fund the new building, and the station's president, Melissa Vaughn, is here to tell us more. Melissa Vaughn, welcome to Sifter for the Ear. I know you've heard the show many times on WRIR, but now you're actually going to be on it for a change.
I know, crazy. Thanks for having me.
Actually, I've been on WRIR for 10 years doing my reviews, and then this podcast, which is now a radio show, has been on for 3 years, going up those stairs every day to meet with people and stuff. But there's a new building coming up. Tell us about it. Where is it?
There is a new building coming up. I'm so excited. It's in Shockoe Bottom, 1806 East Main Street. We're just a stone's throw from the canal, and it's a really thriving neighborhood that we're so excited to be a part of.
You mentioned thriving neighborhood, and I know one of the big initiatives was accessibility, not just for people who might have a physical disability, but to get the whole community involved. So what are some of the things that are being done at the new facility to ensure this?
Yes, indeed. So that really is the mission of the move, is accessibility, radio for all, no matter what your ability, be it in radio or physical. We're here to serve the entire community of Richmond and uplift as many voices who want to be heard. So we have a storefront design that is open, accessible, with a ramp, automatic doors. You can just come right on in.
And people will be able to see the DJs from the street too, right?
They will, if our DJs want them to. We also have the option for our more introverted folks. There will be curtains, but for the most part, the feedback I've gotten from DJs is they want to be seen.
And they'll be heard because they're going to be out on the street too, right?
Yes, there's going to be speakers to pipe our music and talk shows. Whatever we're playing 24/7 is going to be on the sidewalk for you as you're passing or driving in your car, riding your bike. And then as you walk in, though, there's going to be a lobby. And then everything you want to do is straight down a hallway and to your right. Not only are we doing accessibility at the entryways, but there will be a small elevator to go from first to second floor.
That's new. That's being built just for this station.
Just for this space, just for this station, because we really thought it was necessary for anyone who wants to be a volunteer to access all the volunteer activities. And as you mentioned before, our current space is just not accessible at all. And not just because of the stairs, but because of the way the studios were built, you have to step up to get in. Now you won't have to do that. And when you get in, the studios for the DJs will have adjustable height countertops.
So you can stand or sit.
You can stand or sit. If you are in a wheelchair, you can bring the board down to you.
Now, what's on the second floor?
The back of the second floor is our brand new talk studio, and it has windows so that we can see out, but still have excellent recording quality. And outside of it, we'll share this kind of green room hangout / workstation area with the live room that's at the front.
And that live room is for live music, right?
Yep, live music, where we're going to invite bands to come in and play live on air to do projects with us, where our live sound engineer volunteers can come and learn how to produce a live performance and then turn out a single with whatever band is in the studio with us at the time.
Speaking of that, of the sound, I know because I got to do the tour and it was exciting. That room for the live performance is going to be floating essentially. So it will be separated on all surfaces so that it won't pick up any sounds from anything else, and it'll be a nice clean room.
Yes, and also the DJ studio below it will not be disturbed. It really is amazingly crafted room for us. And our architect, Mary Lorino, is incredible. We had Cameron from Acoustics First guide us through all of this, and our contractors at JD Lewis have been doing a bang-up job so far.
So if somebody wants to get involved, if they either want to get involved with the station in general, maybe create their own show, or they want to make a contribution to come down and take a tour and consider that, what's the best way to do that?
All right. So if you want to be a volunteer or support our regular operating costs, which we are always so happy to have new folks in this project with us, you can go to WRIR.org. There's a volunteer button and a red donate button. If you want to take a few things a step further, if you really want to support free speech in Richmond and access to this amazing platform for all Richmonders, you can go to www.WRIRcampaign.org and learn about our huge $2 million capital campaign.
$2 million. Oh, yes.
I know, Jerry. And thank you so much. You were our first sponsor. We are so excited.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you hopped on it. We're an early adopter right away. And so we're so excited to name our studio clocks after you.
Right. I figure that's great because anytime any DJ's in there, they're going to be looking up and seeing my name.
They see your name and they'll be like, maybe I should go listen to Sifter this week.
There you go. Right. Good point.
And so we do have naming opportunities, and they go from the $500 a piece steps. That's a rotating every 3-year naming opportunity that will help feed our new endowment, which we're really excited about. And then it goes all the way up to, naming the lobby after yourself or your loved one or your dog for, a cool $200K.
That's going to be a very special dog for $200K.
That'd be a very special dog, right?
Yeah.
It's a very special building, and one that I believe will become embedded in the community and in people's minds and hearts. It's going to be a historic building one day.
And iconic, because I've seen the illustration for the outside, and WRIR is going to be big on it. It's going to look very cool, kind of a mural effect.
Really, really cool. Yes, and we have mural artists that are chomping at the bit to get onto that building and get to work. So it really is going to be a hub of arts and culture and education and entertainment and news, views for the city of Richmond. We've got all kinds of plans for new programming coming up, and we can't wait to share it. And I really appreciate this opportunity to share with your listeners.
Sure, Melissa. It's great to hear from you. It's great to hear about all this and share it with the listeners because it is exciting, and I can't wait to get the show going down there. Do you have a timeline? Last question. Do you have a timeline on when it might be ready to move in?
Yeah, next fall.
Wow. Okay.
Next fall, we'll be trying to get in there and flip the switch as soon as possible.
All righty. Thank you so much, Melissa. It's great to talk to you, and I will see you around the station.
Same here, Jerry. Thank you so much for your many years of service.
Okie dokie. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was Melissa Vaughn, president of WRIR, and I'll have a link to the web pages for WRIR on the webpage for this show at tvjerry.com.
Coming soon. In theaters.
Love Hurts. Ke Huy Quan gets his first starring role after winning the Oscar. He plays a quiet living realtor until his former partner in crime surfaces and he returns to his former kick-ass self. Heart Eyes. This week's horror entry is about a serial killer that murders couples on Valentine's Day. Buster Keaton's Sherlock Jr. with REM's Monster and New Adventures in Hi-Fi. This is a unique combo showing Keaton's slapstick comedy accompanied by music from these two REM albums.
TV and streaming.
The Super Bowl on Fox. Kinda Pregnant on Netflix. This new comedy from Amy Schumer. When she finds out her bestie, Julian Bell, is expecting, she adopts her own baby bump and then meets the man of her dreams. Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy on Peacock. Renee Zellweger returns in the title role in this sequel that takes place 20 years later and features Hugh Grant, Emma Thompson, and Colin Firth. Love You to Death on Apple. This Spanish import follows a man who's recently diagnosed with cancer and a woman who's just found out she's pregnant. They meet at a funeral and resume their relationship. Sly Lives, aka The Burden of Black Genius, on Hulu and Disney. It focuses on the life and legacy of Sly and the Family Stone, telling the story behind the rise, reign, and fade out. This is Jerry Williams. Thanks for listening.
For more Sifter, including literally thousands of reviews,
Visit tvjerry.com.
That's a wrap.